Hello my friends and welcome. Let's go straight away to the Pokrovsk direction and let's discuss this failed Russian attack attempt. They tried to cross the railways and were annihilated on the way. Not just the all-terrain vehicles and motorcycles were used, but also heavy armored vehicles. You can see they tried to cross the railway here. Well, actually they were successful, partially. They crossed the railway for some period of time, but later on they were not capable to land the forces or to create some sort of the bridgehead. Actually, they were tracked by Ukrainian surveillance drones, and Ukraine used FPV drones to target those vehicles, plus artillery fire was used. All of the vehicles were stopped and Russians completely failed with their mission. The job was done by the Skela 425th Brigade of Ukrainian Army. Very capable one. There were two of the midwaves, this one with all-terrain vehicles and motorcycles, the other one with MTLBs and BMPs. They haven't reached the Ukrainian positions. It was total annihilation, no one was capable to walk away from this attack. It happens kind of rarely, usually at least someone remains out there, but not in this case. Here are more details of this vehicle attack, MTLBs, yeah, I see it. They were stopped and later on finished off completely with the help of the kamikaze drones. And from the Unit Observer Analytic, he published this information 14 minutes ago, we understand that Russia used elite forces. Russia committed their elite 76 Guard Air Assault Division to Pokrovsk. Their first squad and mechanized assault went poorly. So this is the map. 76 Russian Assault Division was used by Russians. Elite forces were totally flatlined. An awesome job done by Ukrainian army. Ukraine also, as you might see, sent reinforcements. So according to this post, Ukraine appears to have anticipated the move, reinforcing the key area with their experienced 95th Air Assault Brigade. So not just 425th was used, Skela, but also 95th. And definitely it is a very experienced brigade. And with combination of the forces, Ukraine was capable to totally demolish, I don't know what words you may use in this case, cancel, yeah, causing complete disaster for this Russian attack attempt. And it really shows that Russia is unable to move behind the railroad located over here. It means that they're not controlling Pokrovsk, despite what Putin and Gerasimov say that no, Pokrovsk is being encircled, Pokrovsk is under Russian control. Well, as you might see here, it's not like that. The northern area of the town is still being controlled by Ukrainian army, and any sort of the Russian assaults, they're being cancelled by Ukraine. Also, it brings us to the good news that definitely this place, the bottleneck itself for Ukrainian army in Myrnograd still exists, because Ukraine has the presence. So it is absolutely correct to put this place into the gray area, this one, because occasionally Russia may send some of the forces, like 2-3 soldiers maximum, but they're all being tracked and annihilated later on by Ukrainian drones. In most of the cases, nevertheless, sometimes they're presented here, that's why this is a gray area, but behind, you see, yeah, if Russia tried to attack, what happens to them? They're completely no-go any longer. So that's the fantastic news we have from Pokrovsk, Myrnograd, absolutely awesome Ukrainian army. It's very capable. Even with the resources Ukrainian army has in general, still Russia fails each time. Then they try to move significant amount of the forces in some specific area, some point, yeah, over here. They're being spotted by drones, kaputted by drones, plus artillery. Awesome job. Again, fantastic, guys. Awesome. No, what is this? What they use? Ural? Yeah, probably you don't see it behind my image, but this is an Ural truck. Let's switch off the music. Yeah, this is the Russian assault. The spot of the infantry landing. You see they have electronic warfare. They have, is it a drone protection or what, or just a place to put the electronic warfare? And they start to land from the vehicle. Well, actually they landed very close to Ukrainian positions, just at this crossroad. Our guys were in a tree line, and you know that at this time, the tree lines, they're without any leaves, and in most of the cases, woods are just shattered by shrapnel and so on. But Russians decided to use this transport, and I wonder why Ukraine still kept the positions that far away from the main positions. Maybe it's some sort of the isolated spot, but what Ukraine was waiting for this move of the Russian army once again. There was artillery fire exactly at the spot where Russia landed its soldiers. Plus, our guys in the tree lines, they also engaged in this fight. Those warriors are service members of 33rd Assault Brigade. Well, the part of the video I cannot show you here, but you may imagine what happened to this truck. So totally 14 of the Russian soldiers were no-go because of the attack, and Ukraine has 0 losses. That is how stupid Russia attacks, landing the infantry just into the field, not even into the tree line, and they lost absolutely everything. Their vehicle, some of the motorcycles later on were sent here, they also were flatlined. So I just wonder why not to land the infantry into this tree line, why open field, like at least some protection is here, yeah? Some trees, maybe some of the trenches, but they chose the other side. Very strange. And I still wonder how this vehicle made it to Ukrainian positions. Maybe, again, as I told you before, it's kind of the remote one, yeah? OSINT analytics say that there were 2 of the infantry of Ukrainian army who engaged in the fight, and all of them survived. This is Dobropilya, not near Pokrovsk, but in Zaporizhzha direction, Zaporizhzha front lines. Let me show you on military map. Let's zoom in. This is Zaporizhzha front lines. Dobropilya is very close to Haichu River, which is the part of, well, a little behind there is a Ukrainian main defense line that Russia wants to reach. But so far, you see, it's not going well for Russians at all, and probably Ural was kaputted in one of those field roads with those 3 lines marked on this map. Alright, let's go to the military map update. So here is where Russia started to lose the vehicles, and here where it continued to lose the vehicles in Pokrovsk direction. Crossing the railway was not that happy for them, and completely unhappy voyage later on. So how many meters did they get from this railroad, or feet? Yeah, you may say maybe 1,000 feet, I would say not more, which is roughly 300 meters. And also in this military map update, we see the expansion of the gray zone towards Mirnograd itself, and just this northern area, not far away from Svitle, and the part of Mirnograd is being controlled fully by Ukrainian army. Well, actually, those are the good news, because it seems like Ukraine started the withdrawal from Mirnograd. If you see those huge gray areas, like for example we see over here, it means that Ukraine withdraws the forces and Russia not yet capable to send their forces. In its turn, it may tell us that Ukraine is up to leave this pocket. Using probably bad weather conditions with the small groups, Ukraine still may do it with as minimum losses as possible. And with the failed Russian attack in Pokrovsk itself, probably Russians are shocked. They think how to act next, and it's the proper time which Ukraine could use for withdrawal. Alright, now let's review the Zaporizhzha direction with more details. Here, not many changes. Dobropilya is being confirmed, where Russian forces were ambushed by Ukrainian army. They tried to ambush Ukrainian positions, but instead Ukraine cancelled them. And here in Stepove, Russians surrendered, or those are Russians, I hope. Yes, 2 Ukrainian soldiers from the 3rd Battalion of the 67th Mechanized Brigade captured 6 Russian soldiers north of Stepove, Dnipropetrovsk region. Awesome! Yeah, I put the censorship there live, just were lying there. I don't know how YouTube may count that, so that's my censorship. Geolocated, confirmed, those were taken alive and will be alive, later on exchanged. Robert Magyar Brody said that the main Russian reserve in Donbass has been deployed, the entire 76th Division, an elite air assault unit, and that's exactly who we are grinding down now at an impressive pace. In one day the enemy battalion was wiped out, says Magyar. I believe him, we have even proofs of that mission. Couldn't have imagined a better outcome for their job, really. Russians from elite forces were cancelled. So you see, Russia wants to get this space. They already announced for Putin that they got Kupiansk under control, Pokrovsk, Mirnograd, everyone is encircled there, Ukraine. Thousands and thousands of Ukrainian troops are being encircled, but all of that happened virtually, in credit, and now Russian commanders, they really need to present something, some news that definitely it's encircled, and they're being pushed, yeah, they're pushing their own infantry and other forces. And also Gerasimov, he needs to show something real to Putin that, you see, our forces are there in Pokrovsk. That's why they push Russian soldiers kind of hard for one-way tickets to get positions, but you see, unsuccessfully, they make mistakes. They trap and ambush their own army, and this cannot continue for extensive period of time, like for years and years. I do not expect for Russia to have those resources and Russian economy as well. If Russia continued to do those mistakes, this is stupid and terrible what they do for themselves, actually, but they continue to do it. So actually, the Russian military command, their work partially for Ukraine in this case. The last winter I told that Pokrovsk has no chances but to be captured. Still, I am telling that, yes, Pokrovsk will be captured by Russia, but I expected it to happen the last winter. Now it's the winter of 2025, soon it's gonna be 2026, and Russians, you see what happened to them in Pokrovsk? Yeah, it's crazy what they do on the front lines. And they want Ukraine to withdraw the forces from Slavyansk, Kramatorsk, Drushkivka, Konstantinivka. For what reason? Like, how many years Russia would need and how many resources for every of that settlement? The Russian commanders also reported to Putin, and I listened to that Putin's conference, that the general who is responsible for Konstantinivka sector said that the city is almost fully occupied by the Russian forces, but they barely get into it, and there is no movement from the Russian side for a very, very long time. You see this gray area. In this case, it's not because Ukrainian forces have withdrawn from this area. They're withdrawn long time ago, but this is the gray area because Ukraine is using lots of the drones targeting every sort of the Russian army move here. With small forces, big forces, doesn't even matter. You see, yeah, that's the symbol of the Russian kaput near Konstantinivka. But Konstantinivka will be taken, yeah, but with some time, maybe 1 year, 2 years, maybe several months. But that's why Ukraine is fighting, exchanging the ground for the time and for crazy Russian losses. Well, Russia could be successful. Like, for example, over here they got a very big flag mission. Yes, they almost fully took Siversk under control. In this case, it happened kind of fast, I agree on that, but it is only possible because Ukraine has not enough resources to defend every spot of the front lines. But after it, there will be one more defense line and one more defense. Where is it? Here, in front of Slavyansk, lots of the natural obstacles. The problem for Ukrainian army that it requires significant reforms, and unfortunately I don't see them to happen in the close-by perspective, even though our officers, volunteers, they're calling for it. But honestly saying, with Syrsky, I think it's not possible. I continue to tell about this cringe guy, Valentin Manko, who gave up the information to the enemy openly via his TikTok page about the maps, positions of Ukrainian army. He says absolute bullshit about what is happening on the front lines, not just in his open reports, but also there are multiple of the complaints of the people who are in service under his command. And there was an occasion that people just exited Ukrainian army at will to avoid stupid commands from this individual. But still he is on a very high position. He's a colonel of the Ukrainian assault forces, which is, as for me, very crazy. And our volunteers, for example, this is Ternenko's page, he is referred to Ukrainskaya Pravda. Let's go open that source and let's translate it to English. The risk losing foreigners. The Second International Legion opposed the disbandment of its unit. Here for you to see the name of this article, and I want to read what worries me. The ground forces of Ukraine said that the legions already commenced its roles and no longer needed for Ukrainian army in the role they are playing now. Till the end of the year, Ukraine plans to dismiss all of the legions as the structures and send all of the foreigners to assault brigades and other military branches all across the Ukrainian army. And many of the foreigners will be sent to brigades which are under this guy's control, Valentin Manko. So sometimes people ask me about the service in Ukrainian army. Even on my stream, I got one of the followers who were going to Ukrainian army to join it, the International Legion. I would say now it's not the time, guys. Absolutely. It's better to wait some time, wait for those reforms. If you go to Ukrainian army, you see what happened to those legions, there will be no more, and you'll go just to ordinary regiment, to assault brigade, could be, where this guy could be in charge, and he's completely incompetent. Even Ukrainian soldiers, they want to get out from his brigades, his control, so he's... I wonder why he's still there. And it says a lot about Syrsky, actually, and in general about the Ukrainian army system. So analysis volunteers and fighters themselves, they say that battalions that only conduct combat operations but also specialize in recruiting foreigners and working with them are suddenly liquidated, and the servicemen themselves are sent to assault units. So people who were not trained for specific missions may go to assault units. Even drone operators, the guys who were busy in logistics, no, everyone goes to assault units, and many foreigners, I know that they're leaving now Ukrainian army because of this change. Among the initiations of such decision as volunteers and fighters assumed could be the head of Department of Assault Units of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Valentin Manko, the one I say to you. So as for me, this decision is the sabotage of Ukrainian army from inside, because those foreign legions, they're very effective. Warriors already know each other, they fight shoulder to shoulder for a very long time, they are placed in some specific location usually. They know how to do their job, they have supply guys, they have drone guys, they have attack guys, they have vehicles, they have everything. And now, okay, we're gonna get rid of everything of that and disperse all of those guys elsewhere to the brigades where they don't know each other. They like, what is freaking happening? And our volunteers and also the commander of the 2nd Legion, they say the same stuff, like, what the hell is happening? We try to reach Syrsky, what is happening, but there is no response. That's what they say there. That's why the commander went to give the interview to share this awareness about what is happening to Ukrainskaya Pravda. Hopefully with that new spark of the scandal, Syrsky will change his mind. You see, how did the foreign military personnel servicing in your unit react to the potential disbandment? It is a shock and a lack of understanding why this is happening. As for me, this is a sabotage. From within. We have the enemy from within. Not only Russia is our enemy, unfortunately. And those corruption scandals, they vividly show that it is definitely like that. That's why Ukrainian command, the high military command, should go. Absolutely. Leave it for professionals, for those guys who really know how to use the army, not from the Soviet schools, not from Kremlin schools, because Syrsky is Russian himself. He studied in Russia. He used to live in Russia, and all of his relatives are Russians. But he's the commander of Ukrainian army. That's the timeline we live in, yeah? Very strange as for me, and I didn't like Syrsky from the very beginning, and it was a very big mistake for Zelensky to put Syrsky in charge after dismissing Zaluzhny. Also, I absolutely do not understand the new policy of Ukraine with SZČ means самовільно залишена частина, so the voluntarily leave of the military base or military branch, you may say it like that. Maybe in some of the cases you may call it desertion, but in our case it's like leaving the base without the notice, something like that. So many of those cases, actually most of those, were done by soldiers who do not want to serve under stupid commanders, who may give stupid orders. And they used this SZČ method to later on join other military branches of Ukraine. Because in Ukrainian army still, if you serve in one unit, no matter what your relations with commander, no matter if you want to change your unit or your skills are not equal to this unit, you cannot change it. Like with a letter, you cannot ask for it. There is no this lever to send you to another unit. It is very terrible and bureaucratic thing to do. Like it's almost impossible. So as a variant, people just leave their base, their unit, and after some time they return to military and they say where they would like to go. And that worked. This mechanism was really in operation, successful operation for a very long time. I think for 2 years already, people used the SZČ to change their brigades, regiments, whatsoever. But today the news were published that from this leaving of the military branch, Ukrainian soldiers may return to army only to assault brigades, to very front line, in other words, and to the most difficult directions, which makes it like a punishment. If you're not okay with an idiot commander, who could be easily Valentin Manko, you can leave to SZC, but later on the only way to return is to the trenches, straightforward to the most difficult part. And do you think that people in this case will return back to army? Absolutely not. They'll just leave and they'll hide somewhere. They'll try to exit through Ukrainian border to European Union. There are lots of the guys actually who were fighting for Ukraine before and now they live as refugees in Europe. Lots and lots of the soldiers like that. And I took the interview with Dylan Burns, who is a journalist, an independent journalist is better to say, who is out there on the front lines filming what is happening, telling the things as they are. He even told that one of his mates, who is a Ukrainian army serviceman, he exited the Ukrainian army because of the stupid command, yeah, and now he lives somewhere in Europe. I think in Spain he said something like that. Well, anyway, SZC should not be punished. It's like the variant for Ukrainian soldiers to leave. Well, in this case, in parallel, make it possible for soldiers to really complain, for those complaints to be heard by higher Ukrainian military command, and make this ladder somewhere to change the brigade, regiment, corps, whatsoever. It should be like a variant for Ukrainian soldiers. Otherwise, they're gonna run, yeah, from some of the brigades, from some of the regiments, as it is happening right now. We all know those brigades. I mean, I cannot disclose precise numbers here on my channel, but people in Ukraine, all of the soldiers, all of the officers, they know those idiot commanders. I'm telling about Valentin Manko here because he is a classical one, TikToker, yeah. But there are many of them. That's why I'm calling for reforms, because it should not continue like that forever. And there is no responsibility for those stupid commanders who may send the forces just one way. I should film a separate video about it, or maybe I should tell portion by portion of what is happening, like the issues in Ukrainian army, because this channel is about truth. You'll not hear the stupid propaganda from me. I try to tell the things as they are, even though I'm biased for Ukraine, because I'm Ukrainian myself. Of course, I'm always happy, as you are, about the good news from the front lines and so on, but we also should speak about not so good news and the problems, issues. Otherwise, there will not be alerted about and will not be changed. Now, I'm very happy that our volunteer community, they're speaking about it. They do not afraid, they tell. And also our soldiers tell as well. Alright guys, once again the front lines, because we have lots of the news coming right away by the time I'm recording this video, and we have this update from the deep state. Was yesterday, it is today. Definitely the confirmation of the Russian movement in Serednya village over here. It was a substantial movement, and also they went to Davydov village. Yeah. Did they go to Yampil also? No, just a single movement for today. Not many settlements were taken by Russians, but the destiny of Liman, it is already understandable. The main supplies were cut, so Ukraine will lose Liman, I guess, the next year. Yeah, for the next couple of weeks, Russia will not be able to occupy Liman, so in 2026, I think they will do it because of the poor supplies to this town. As for the rest points of the front lines, including the most hot ones, there is no movement. At least Deep State doesn't give us this update. Well, it means that Russia is not taking the ground as it used to be. Nice. Some of the fresh images with Ukraine using tank on the front lines. Some of the Russian soldiers even were imprisoned. Probably they were scared of Ukrainian tank somehow, and they decided to surrender. Yes, there was also Ukrainian infantry, and you see that the barricade was pretty much robust. Here our guys filmed with a GoPro, then they went inside, storming Russian positions, and Russians finally said, we surrender. Several of the Russian soldiers were captured and later on will be exchanged. Awesome. Tank helps sometimes, but the main job as usual is done by Ukrainian infantry. As it's been reported, it happened in the village of Ivanivka not long time ago, and yes, I told you about the situation that Russians crossed this river. They went to the settlement, but later on Ukraine launched the counterattack, even using heavy armored vehicles like tanks. Oh, banzai! Our guy, whom I told about yesterday, is reaching Odessa little by little. A secret warfare of Gerasimov, Russian super soldier. Russian soldiers use the special combat exoskeletons. With them, they're just invincible. Well, not always, I would say. Yep. This is the pontoon crossing vehicle based on, I think, ZIL. This is ZIL vehicle, not Ural. Or is it? Yeah, this is ZIL, 100%. So this is the pontoon bridge system that was found by Ukrainian drone operators. See, they even have anti-drone system on the top, electronic warfare, but it didn't help, the vehicle was kaputted. I just wonder about this direction, where it happened. Well, it was posted by 33rd Separate Mechanized Brigade, could be Pokrovsk, could be Zaporizhzha, because parts of this brigade is acting elsewhere. That's one more issue of Ukrainian army, because it dispersed the forces from the single brigades, yeah. Russians surprised, those big eyes. Amazed! What is happening? A kaboom somewhere not that far away. What happened? Why is it happening? Those are just crazy Ukrainians. They're attacking poor Russia. Yeah. Concerned? That's how the face of the concerned average Russian looks like. They say it was more silent before. Now it's more noisier. Or louder, yeah, louder. Yeah, they already say it's the trace of the air defense. They already know, they already understand the difference between the classical kaboom and the Russian air defense in operation. Yeah, Russians, no worries, if it's not your air defense, Ukraine always hits the military infrastructure or other industrial complexes. Like, for example, this is the chemical plant that was hit in Smolensk Oblast. That factory was producing components for artillery shells. That's the kaboom from the side. Ukraine is very effective, as usual. Yeah, they say that this building was hit, but it is only because the drone was shut down, definitely. Here it's truth. And the Russians, they're gathering outside. Probably they want to greet the air defense themselves, not to stay in the cover. And the remains of the drones, they definitely show that it was hit by the air defense. You see lots of the shrapnel. Yeah, the drone that was flying to Moscow was shut down on the way, but it hit several of the residential buildings, because Russia doesn't care, they shut down drones over residential areas. Also, something was hit in Novgorod. Yeah, there was the kaboom. Ooh, the drone. Looks like FP1 or Luty. Yeah, the atmosphere. Celebrations are coming, Russia. Some of the enterprise went out of service. The factory name is Akron. It is also used to produce chemical components and fertilizers. It seems like Ukraine aims for the military production. Great. And in Kacha airport, locals reported about the kaput or kaboom of the Antonov 26 cargo airplane that was carrying some of the military personnel. They say that some of the helicopter pilots and mechanics were flatlined. At least we got this info from the local Telegram channels. I'm still waiting to clarify and confirm this information. Hopefully, they're not lying. And some of the big kaboom happened in Rylsk, that's the Kursk Oblast, some of the building, and just look at this crater there, 20 meters diameter. It's already measured by our OSINTs. Well, some of the analytics and sources, they say that Ukraine may start to use a sub-sound system based on Grom-2 ballistic missile complex, kind of similar to Iskander but better, with a range of up to 1,000 kilometers, could be restricted to 500 kilometers. Well, Zelensky hints about ballistic missiles in use, Ukrainian-made ballistic missiles, in some of his statements and interviews. So maybe it's true, but Ukraine is unable to produce those massive, unfortunately. Yeah, Ukraine helps to entertain Russia. The last night it was really a huge kaboom show on territory of lots of the Russian regions. Awesome. Alright, to the other news, Rutte says that Moscow is the threat for NATO, and he also mentioned that NATO is next after Ukraine. It's important to support Ukraine. Also, he mentioned that Russia already started its provocations and this hybrid type of the war against European nations. Plus, China supports Russia a lot with its military action on Ukrainian territory. So, Rutte, we need some of the reforms in NATO, don't we? Especially when Donald Trump openly publishes the strategy, national strategy of security of United States, where he mentioned that United States will not help Europe in case of the Russian aggression. Europe should be strong and confiscate finally Russian assets and send them for own military production to help Ukraine with military. Yeah? Von der Leyen's message to Trump: don't meddle in European democracy. And Zelensky also says that, with all respect to our partners across the ocean, Ukraine should follow its own national interests, and Donald Trump will just continue to sell weapons to Europe. So Zelensky even doesn't put the question on that one, because Donny is forced to do it, because military production sector in the United States, they are sponsors of Republican Party and of Donald Trump personally. And I see that even some of the Republicans, they're now turning against Donny. My friends, as for politics and some random stuff, I have a separate channel. It's called Captain Dennis. So today I filmed a video about possible American special military operation in Venezuela. Just me talking in front of the camera, saying the stuff as I think it is. So you are very welcome, Captain Dennis. The link is in the video description just below if you want to see me blah 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 about random stuff. And also there are daily streams. For today, maybe I'll go streaming after publishing this video. Maybe I'm gonna go streaming tomorrow because I'm tired already. Today it's a very late update, but I filmed the videos, then I have the news and something to speak about. As for today, you see, we have lots of the things to discuss. There were the news that the White House administration, they want to create some sort of the G5 with Russia, China, United States, Japan, and India. From all of those countries, Japan and the United States are the democratic ones. But now United States, with Donald Trump, let's be honest, it is drifting away from democracy. And what Donald Trump thinks is quite unreal. Because those political regimes, they'll never be friends. They cannot survive in a single bloc. They cannot survive in a single world. That is the most concerning. At least China and the United States of America, China plus Russia, they will always compete between each other. It's not possible to divide the world and rule it peacefully. It will not happen like that. Autocracies will try to create the new world order with the United States not being there. Absolutely. Yeah, Donny is a stupid idiot, 100%. He doesn't know what international relations, foreign policy really is. He thinks about money, about deals, profit. It simply doesn't work like that. There is more than profit, more than economy, more than money, especially for Putin. Do you think that he started the war because he wanted to get more money? No, he wants to restore mighty power of the Soviet Empire or Russian Empire. That's it. Influence, power, that's bigger than money, actually. Donny doesn't understand it. He's a small crypto scammer and stock market scammer, creating those Trump coins, Melania coins, manipulating with the news just to get profit for him and his family. He's not even close to the real villains like Putin and Xi. And Putin today again said that Siversk is being occupied by our forces, but still not fully, as we saw on this military map update. The Russian military bloggers also say that the part of the settlement is still under Ukrainian control, but Putin is happy about occupation of Siversk, and he says that all of the goals of the special military operation will be achieved. So it means again and again and again he says that he wants the war to continue. He doesn't want to stop. He is very happy. He's like this mighty war leader. He likes his amplitude and he is not willing to stop at all. Well guys, those were the main news. I don't want to make this video absurdly long, but anyways, tomorrow I'm gonna film one more video for you as every day, and you are making my job possible with your support on Patreon, so please do it, support, check out the link for Patreon right in the video description just below, or support me on membership. The join button is somewhere over here. for the members, and thank you so much for making this content possible. If you do not have the opportunity to support me on Patreon or on membership, just press like to this video and subscribe for the channel. That's how you propel this video in YouTube algorithms to make it more popular, to have more views. That also helps a lot, so thank you guys for that as well. I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.